Conscious Collaboration brings together entrepreneurs, changemakers, and thought leaders. We aim to highlight the people that embody the idea of aligned mind, body, and business. Each week, we share, discuss, and learn from the various experiences and ideas of our guest experts. Through our discovery, we find a path to an aligned mind, body, and business.
Hi, I'm Lisa.
And I'm Emily, and this is the Conscious Collaboration Podcast, first episode of 2024. What up, y'all?
So,
what up, Lisa?
2024.
Yeah.
I've been rounding up for a while, so I was prepared.
You've been rounding up on the year?
Yeah.
It's not a thing, but okay.
That's how I get ready for the next year.
You figured it out. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So there's like a thread, I guess, or a post going around on Instagram. I've seen it on several big accounts. And is that what you call a carousel, right? Where it's just,
carousel.
Text,
sliders,
text graphic, right, where you slide through it. And, they were just kind of some good, takeaways, I forget what the, actual title or category for these was, but one of the slides stood out to me in particular. It just really resonated with me, especially as far as my business entrepreneurship journey has gone. But I think we can kind of apply it to really literally anything. Anything.
Adulting in general.
Sure. Or you could argue some childlike qualities to this thought process. But anyway, here's the slide. Here's the text on it. It's everyone who started something had no clue how to do it at the beginning, but they figured it out by making mistakes. Make your number one trait your figureoutability. And I think that really hits the nail on the head. I think so many people, especially when it comes to business or starting a business or growing a business, limit themselves because they don't know how to do something. But it's so silly to me because it's true. Literally, anybody who started anything didn't know what they were doing in the beginning. And if anybody tells you otherwise, they're full of shit, right? It's
right.
So let's talk about it.
I like that. It's been also a theme in other places too. So I like that you found this on Instagram as something that's patterning, because I do think it is just a collective theme right now. The idea of applying beginnership to anything that you're doing. It has been
beginnership.
Yeah. So it's
I love the word making up game here right now. Figureoutability and beginnership.
Well,
yeah, beginner's mind though, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, that's what an entrepreneur does a lot of times is, I think in many ways, whatever you're creating, unless it's something that you're a business that you're buying from someone else, it's services that you're creating on your own. So they're just taking needs and applications to help people and support people in ways that have never been put together before, most likely, unless it's some sort of you're buying already a store concept idea off of someone else. But the idea of looking at something with innocence, that comes up a lot in a lot of our conversations, but fresh eyes and not being afraid of the mistakes or the obstacles, knowing there's a way around them.
And it's funny you said adulting earlier, because I really think this is kind of a almost a childlike attitude too. Kids don't really give a fuck. They'll at least initially, a lot of them before they start to develop the social anxieties and stuff that are really more so programmed into them and put onto them in different ways, they'll just like dive right into something. They don't
Yeah.
necessarily care that they're not good at it yet, or that they don't know how, you
Yeah.
know.
It's that
You'll
whole
see a
like,
kid, Olivia just goes
yeah.
right into a headstand, right?
Right.
Like,
Yeah, I
and
saw
I'm
that.
like, well, you probably
Yeah.
shouldn't just do that with no instruction.
Mhm.
Fine.
It's that like
But
approach of like youthful folly, right?
mhm,
So it's not like necessarily ignorance. It's just approaching things as if there's no need to worry. And I think when you're trying to figure things out, certainly like trying to adult, you're already looking at things with a framework. Well, this could happen, or this could happen, or that could happen. Whereas like a child's like looking at a challenge, like I get to climb that.
hold my beer.
Yeah.
Woo!
Yeah, watch
Yeah,
me.
it's the fool too. It's the fool if we're going to connect it to the tarot, like
Yeah.
the leap of faith. Just do something, and well, it'll sort itself out. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out as we go. And a lot of times, if you plan and plan and plan and try to make it perfect before you even start, then you end up having to change half the plan like early on
Yeah.
anyway, because that's the deal. You do have to figure some of it out as you go. It's like that, like anything you go to school for, business or nursing or whatever the
Mhm.
case may be, you can be the smartest, most A plus, book
Mhm.
educated person on the planet in the subject, but until you've had some real world experience, it's to at least corroborate with that. You're you're not going to figure it all the way out.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another good example of it. You can go to like the best of the best trade school or whatever against 100 other people and be the ace in your class, but if you don't have that um bravery or courage to figure things out and use the knowledge in a way that hasn't been put together before to approach it, you're probably going to limit yourself or sell yourself short. I think when you overplan sometimes, it's like planning for a vacation or a trip too.
Hmm.
Sometimes we can overplan things and limit the things that could happen accidentally. And accidentally is probably not the right word, but you know, intuitively when
Organically. Hmm.
organically learning about a new environment and seeing there's this opportunity to do this, but if you've overplanned it, then you've like overbooked yourself. So like limited yourself from
Hmm.
something.
And I guess a common worry would be like that you would suck at figuring things out, and you might at first, right? You might, but it's like anything else. The more reps you get, the more practice you get at just figuring it out,
Yeah.
the less and less clunky it gets over time. And
Yeah.
even if like I feel like uh, you know also, especially like with something like nursing or entrepreneurship, you're never gonna know
Mhm.
it all. You're never gonna
Right.
learn it all. And plus the body of knowledge is always changing and growing
Yeah.
and expanding. So y- you know I don't know. I guess it's like a lot of it is like getting rid of that feeling that we should know something
Right.
already.
Or like the know-it-all thing. Yeah. So what am I like almost 5 years into my business and I just applied for this entrepreneur school, which is usually for beginners. But
Mhm.
I was looking at a lot of the types of classes and speakers and that type of thing. And things have come a long way, even in the past 4 or 5 years, that I think could benefit me now, like, almost like just every year, just starting out as a beginner, like, what what things can I fortify my foundation of my business with that I wasn't aware of when I started? I didn't have the resources. It's like, yeah, I don't know if I talked about it in the last podcast, but it's like I was talking to another entrepreneur, a local entrepreneur, and she was talking about business credit and how to build business credit. And that's just not something that you go into a business with really knowing unless you know someone who's successful at building business credit, because as a solopreneur, you're using your own personal credit in your business, but that does you a disservice. So, here I am almost 5 years into my business and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, like my business credit score it needs some work and adjustment. So it's limiting me. So a lot of the things that I can see myself doing, I'm not going to spend a lot of time in the books and I'm not going to shut my business down, but I am going to be looking at a lot of things as if I'm just starting to do any of this.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, these things can it can be level ups over time too.
Mhm,
So what I mean
mhm.
by that, like I've been lifting weights for over oh, was that 4 years that
Yeah,
just
4
passed?
years. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
okay.
going on 5 years,
Um,
right?
4 years. No, Christmas Eve actually made 4 years of like a truly like lifting weights. I started on Christmas Eve. So that's kind of my day one that I count. I lifted weights before that, but like really, really like, paying attention, learning what I was doing. Um, Christmas Eve 4 years ago. So, after several years, like I've started feeling pretty good about a lot of it.
Yeah.
Um, at least in the balanced but very much strength oriented way that I was lifting. Well,
Mhm.
when I decided to dabble in bodybuilding,
Yeah.
I pretty much like I don't want to say I started from square one, but it was definitely a new level. Like, especially in recently hiring a coach and starting some new new workout programming in a very different style than I've gotten used to. I've really had to kind of take on this beginner's mind thing in a venue where I previously felt very comfortable,
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, so it's been interesting, but if you can get over the hangups, whatever your hangup is, then I think you can feel it pretty quickly start to like open up new doors and new pathways that you hadn't even considered previously.
Yeah, I mean, that's another good example of like, even though you're successful in your strength training and in your program to do these competitions in working with a different team, you're learning things that are from a different perspective, ground up.
Mhm. Mhm.
So that
Yep,
bolsters,
absolutely.
like you said, levels you up from where you even were, which was already very high.
Mhm. It gives you almost a little bit of relief too to know that like okay, it's okay that I don't know all this,
I
It's
don't think we
okay.
ever know it. Oh, I
Yeah,
don't think we ever know anything to the full extent.
definitely not. It's like the quote that they say about like travel a lot, but I think you
Mhm.
can really apply it to anything. Like the more the more you know, the less you know.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
exactly.
the more you travel, the less you know, I think
Mhm.
is what did Anthony Bourdain say that? But
Probably our
yeah,
favorite.
it's that kind of thing. Like the more you learn, the more I learn about weightlifting and bodybuilding and training and everything else. And the more people I train and the more,
Mhm.
different like body types and you know levels of mobility and experience that I work with, like it's almost like the less I feel like I know.
Yeah, it's
But
true.
not in a bad way, if that makes sense. You're like, oh wow.
Well, it's
It's
just
like a
it's more
respectable thing. It's like I respect the amount of knowledge there is about,
yeah, it's more
XYZ.
expansive. I mean, that's why in one field so many um different people and experts can exist because there's so much like without I think it's neat that everybody's able to exchange their wisdom and knowledge and experience so readily now because can you imagine like just trying to learn about something through books or through your close circle of friends now we're getting like high speed information all the time
Mhm.
and realizing
Which requires a higher level of discernment too.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
have to, because now there's a plethora of information, which is awesome, but there's also a lot more garbage to, to
Yeah.
sift through, to really understand whether you're getting good information. So
And sometimes you don't know something that you learned was not best for you or it might not be best for anyone, but it was just the way that it was taught. So when you put it into practice, you realize there's alternatives to what I've been doing.
mhm.
It just changes.
Let's see what the I Ching has to say about it.
I already pulled a card as you were talking about the energy around this figurability,
Figure out how to go.
figure out
Mhm.
ability. Bleh. Anyway, you know what I'm trying to say. The energy around it is joy, which is lake above and lake below. And yeah, so if happiness is supported by stability, it will wear down the stiffest barrier and win over the hardest heart. True joy is a beacon in the world. And I think that goes to like what you were talking about with like the fool and youthful folly and children is, their mistakes are more like, wow, that didn't work. Like more, there's more joy to it. Like,
Mhm.
um, I think we are so scared of mistakes a lot of times. And I know a lot of people say, well, reframe your mistakes as like lessons. But when you're in it, especially when it pertains to your business and there's finances attached to it, it feels it's harder to get to that place of joy. But I think there's, like we always say, our success is mostly tied to our mindset. And if we're in the muck, so is everything else. But if you look at it like a lesson that you learned and how cool it is that you just learned that. And you're really good at that. Reframing, I think, in
Mm.
my opinion, out of
Yeah.
a lot of
I mean
people.
that, and I think that that joy element goes along with figure outability too, because if you're able to, you're gonna feel fear probably,
Mhm.
regardless. But if those who are able to push past those fears and take the leaps of faith anyway and start the
Yeah.
business or try the bodybuilding or whatever, whatever the
Mhm.
thing is, because those are passions, those are, those things to figure out
Yeah.
generally, even though there's annoying, administrative stuff that goes along with it and all that. But those things broadly, starting a business, usually, I mean, it's usually a passion project. So if you get to try the things that you're passionate about,
Yeah.
you're gonna have more joy in your life because you're not suppressing, the things that your heart or your intuition is pushing you towards due to, whatever the fear or limitation is. So I think that joy and figure out ability, this skill, are hand in hand in that way.
What do you think about just seeing what the next card would be, divining of the I Ching, like how can we frame the intention? Is like how do we inject figure out ability into our coming year? Or how do we
Sure.
yeah, I think that's the best way to say it.
You're better at coming up with the questions
Well,
than
that
me.
I needed to say it out loud. I need to get your buy-in before I'm doing that. So whatever the figureoutability.
Yeah, I wonder if like we could, I don't know if it's completely synonymous, but the word I keep thinking of is like adaptability.
Yeah.
It's kind of like similar,
Yeah.
at least, if not
Yeah.
completely synonymous, but the
I
ability
like
to.
I like the idea of figure out ability too, because you're like using your brain and you're like,
Mhm.
all the tools that you have. But so how can we inject this into our coming year? And it's containment of potential, which is hexagram 26. And
We get
we've
that a lot.
gotten, yeah.
Mhm.
That must be key for I think our listeners too.
Yeah.
So we're going from 58, which is joy. And I like that image too, just to show everybody it's like really that wellspring at the bottom there. I don't know if you can see from the glare.
Mhm. Looks
But
like
that's
a spade too.
it does look a spade, yeah. And then containment of potential is also really cool. It's like a diamond in the middle.
Mm.
So we've got the spade and the diamond. I don't know if
Spades
there's
and diamonds.
any significance there. So there's quite a bit of change that we're looking at when I'm looking at the change lines. It's changing from the top, which is line 6, or the divine or the heaven, and then a few changes down. So it's 6 for those people that are reading along in their own books. 6, 5, 4, 3. So a lot of like higher level ideas, concepts from the heaven um, are impacting this concept of injecting our figure out ability into this coming year. And so keeping in mind the joy, the concept that we talked about there. And so really just having that perspective, like the cup is full, instead of half empty kind of thing. Um, Keeping that mindset healthy is really important. It says, keeping that in mind, pleasant circumstances don't always indicate success. Having lost touch with one's deeper self and true purpose, it is possible to be swept along by vanity and superficial pleasures, to be carried away from the sources of true joy. When this happens, it is no longer a question of good or bad fortune. When you lose control of your choices, everything is left to chance. That's good. I think that's good advice too. I think I was just talking to my family while they were visiting too. It's along the same lines of like, if you don't stand for something, you're going to fall for everything kind of concept. But even if we're getting short-lived success in things that, in particular, when we're talking about entrepreneurialism, say you're getting lots of success in bids or financially, you get payments coming in, but if it's not connected to the heart center or the true purpose of what you set out to do, it's not going to be sustainable. It's not going to be long lasting. Um, so I think that's important to keep in mind as you're using your figure out ability. It's not just how can I be crafty to be more financially successful. It's how can I do that and also stay aligned to my true self as well too.
Mm-hmm.
It says when a period of joyousness begins to degenerate, slowly but surely, problems are going to arise. So when you start to feel a little gloomy, get out of that high vibe, you're going to start noticing all the things that match that.
I think it's also a reminder, like that figuring it out, while it is an action and part of it is actionable, is not all 100% action. It's still the combination of masculine, feminine, yin and yang, pursuing and receiving. The whole idea of figuring something out. Some of that is still receptive. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? You take your action and then you take your rest and you allow answers to come to you that you have planted the seeds to seek.
Yeah.
You're
I
not
think,
just like, you know what I mean? I think people like me and you might tend to, get a little too cerebral with it and then be staying up nights or whatever, overthinking it, thinking that we're figuring it out. but sometimes figuring it out means turning your brain off of it momentarily.
Oh yeah, I think I agree. I think we've shared that too before a lot between
Hmm.
both of us is
Let it be
sometimes
easy.
but sometimes everything is solved and even beyond being solved just by unplugging and taking a nap or going to the beach or something. Everything resolves itself. And we can't I don't know how to quantify how that happens, but we can certainly get ourselves in a muck. And it explains in this line 5, that when you start to degenerate in your joy and you're starting to attract things of that lesser high vibration, I'll just put it in that word. Um, no matter how sincere you are, you might be more, well, you'll be drawn to unfavorable circumstances and to people as well too. So, and it's hard to realize when you're in that you might be a little more vulnerable to people, or getting caught up in something that's taking you away from your purpose. So it's just really having that awareness and that tendency that I'm starting to lose my joy in this and I'm grasping or connecting with things that aren't necessarily helping. So to your point, it's really being guarded against harming yourself and getting rebalanced.
Yeah, I think if the process starts to really feel like a struggle or exhausting, then that's obviously your cue. It's probably
Yeah,
beyond the cue, but it's your cue
that's
to
a red flag.
switch to receptive mode, rest mode for a minute, and hit the actionable part on a little bit more refreshed
Yeah. I think
state.
it's like when you were talking that receptive mode, I think receptive, resourceful, like those would be things that you could say to yourself when you're starting to feel like you're losing the joy, is to affirm for yourself, I am resourceful. This
Hmm.
this is something I'm good at. I'm good at getting out of these things. um, Knowing that you are resourceful will take you away from like you're saying, burning the midnight oil in the wrong direction, or getting yourself into a mucky situation or around people that aren't helpful to you.
Into yeah, right. And it's kind of like back to force versus power. If you have to
Mhm.
force it, right? Like you're not in your power. So, yeah, just being aware of where you are energetically in the process of figuring it out.
So when you were saying that, I was thinking about, I know we talked about like the irritation that creates a pearl in an oyster. Well,
Mhm.
like also to that same point of forcing, it's like you could like break the whole process, ruin the whole process of the pearl if you try to break open the mollusk before it's done, or like you'll just destroy
Mhm.
the animal if it's not receptive or like opening, and so there's like that's the image that I got. I think it continues from a couple episodes back, but these irritations are what really make these great moments of success, especially for entrepreneurs or someone more on like a self-awareness or a self-improvement journey.
Yeah, cuz when the pearl is ready, the shell will just open.
Yeah. But like how many times have you seen like someone just completely
Right?
obliterate
Is
the
that true
shell?
or did I make that up? Is that
I think
true?
it just opens. I mean, I see so
I
I've
did just make it up, but it seems like it could be true.
it could be true, but I have seen like so when I in my previous life when I was working with jewelry, I did get to see a lot of video footage of where they would go and
Pearls.
harvest the
Mhm.
pearls. I spent a lot of time looking at B-roll footage of that, and it's not a process that's like forceful. Yeah, they're harvesting the pearls, but I don't think, you really don't want to be like trashing everything that
Mhm.
that you're going to the bottom of the sea for. It's a much more, timing is right kind of thing. yeah, I don't know, maybe that's the image that we have. So someone
Mhm.
can let us know if we're way off base on that.
Right. If it's a scientific fact, then it's a really good analogy.
Yeah, well, and you're welcome. So it talks about too, line 4 came up in this, shifting from joy into containment of potential. And as we're talking about figure out ability, it says the failure to choose joy over pleasure is as self defeating as the failure to act in the face of danger. Choosing the higher desire brings fulfillment, while passionate self indulgence increases suffering. So, know the difference. And I think that also goes along with like chasing the money and getting pulled away from your values because you're like, oh, like I really could use that,
It's like
carrot on.
instant gratification.
Right. Yeah. So, and then lastly, line 3, the source of true joy is within oneself. If one is out of touch with it, the tendency to search for joy externally can easily take the form of indulgent and pleasant, but superficial distractions. And those that don't control their idle desires do so because they're not grounded. Knowing your deepest wishes and acting on them is the best path to joyful exuberance and energy. Look for something external to fill you up, and that's never going to satisfy you for very long. So I think these are really good to keep in mind. So looking a little bit more about this coming future energy for the rest of the year, as we're thinking about ways to use our figure out ability, finally got it right.
Mhm.
And so this hexagram 26, it points to the command and control of great power, the power that increases as it is wisely stewarded. So it talks about you have considerable reserves of energy and support to draw upon. So don't forget that you have all the resources. And this is an excellent time to nurture creativity by collecting and organizing your best ideas and plans. And now, even larger and difficult undertakings can be successful. So, to your point, don't be afraid of the even more difficult and unknown, um, whatever it is that you're taking on. A hidden source of power for those who wish to do noble deeds is the study of the past. The lives of wise and successful men and women are like treasures buried in the earth. Good fortune comes to those who unearth such valuable treasures by applying the lessons of ages to their current situation.
Well, one of the easiest ways to figure something out is to look and see how people have previously figured it out.
Yeah, I heard that.
Work smarter,
Too.
not harder.
Yeah, like for those people that are interested in using AI, there's a way, I mean, that you can talk to AI to ask AI. And of course, it depends on what kind of information is out there. So you have to be discerning. But if you were this expert or this person that used to be alive in this field, it could be whatever your field is. What would their advice be to me in this situation? Um, so you can, through AI, using that with discernment, hear what someone in the past would give you as advice, which I think is kind of cool.
Yeah.
I mean, just a way to kind of like play and inject some of that play and take you out of maybe a hamster wheel of destruction. If you're on that path, might be like, let me ask for advice here. No one knows anything about this, so might as well ask whoever, would be the
Mhm.
expert of this, even if they're not alive.
Well, now with like YouTube and blogs and everything else, I mean, if you do enough digging, you can often find somebody who documented their whole, you know,
Yeah,
way, and so you
yeah.
don't have to like. It's not like you're truly like, don't copy somebody like,
Mhm, mhm.
but you don't have to reinvent the wheel either.
No, no, you don't. I don't think there's any, there's so many different variations and out there of any concept that it doesn't hurt to, I mean, certainly look at what someone else does in their approach and you just automatically fill in the blanks with like, well, that's not going to work for me, whatever. I'm going to do it this way, but at least it gets you somewhere moving
I
forward.
I've even said it about parenting too. Like nobody ever really knows what they're doing.
Right. Yeah.
The entirety of parenting is figuring it out.
Yeah. Yeah, it really
Mhm.
is. And isn't that the truth?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I can't even, I'm just reflecting back on parenting, even just last
Mm-hmm.
night and like the bedtime routine. Sometimes I think I have it figured out, and then the kids get a little bit older and suddenly I'm starting at square one again. What I was doing before
Mm-hmm.
wasn't working.
Yep.
Yep. I don't know. That's a good one. I like that, Emily. I'm glad you came across that. Good topic.
Yeah.
Very, very timely.
Yeah.
On point.
Yeah. Well, and it puts a better spin or reframe, I guess, like we were talking about, feeling like even just changing the language from I don't know what I'm doing to I'm going to figure it out, right? To two vastly different statements that pretty much mean the same thing. And one is disempowering and one is empowering.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think even just like you said, looking at it as if you're a child trying to figure something out, but I can't
Mm-hmm.
wait to figure this out, or I wonder if I can figure this out and what it's going to look like,
Yeah.
or I can't wait
Word.
until I figure this out. Word.
Can't wait.
Can't wait to figure this out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what do you say we continue this conversation inside of the Facebook group?
Let's do it.
All right. So it's the Conscious Collaboration Collective on
Mm-hmm.
Facebook, and
Mm-hmm.
we'll continue that conversation in there. And this video recording of us chit-chatting, all the good and bad stuff happening in the background is going on YouTube. So people can find us there. We'll plug all the information inside the description box, and you can find out more by connecting with us on any of our social media. And it's been fun. I'm going to go figure some things out.
It's been real. Let's figure it out, bro.
Joyfully. All right. I'll talk to you in 5.
All right. Talk to you in 5.
Bye.
Thank y'all so much for listening to our podcast. If you haven't yet, please be sure to subscribe, rate, review, and share with all your friends so they can join our circle of collaboration on this journey. You can find us on Instagram at Conscious Collaboration Podcast, on Spotify, iTunes, and Audible, to name a few. Please join us next time for another deep dive into how you can live life in more alignment, mind, body, and business. Send us your questions and comments in our DMs or email us at consciouscollaborationpodcast@gmail.com. See you in 5 minutes.